Welcome to the Gathering Academy. It is the end of a wild and crazy week at Roots Tech, and I'm just so excited to have some great things to share with you today. If you are joining via just a regular podcast with no video, you can go ahead and listen and then go back and then watch it on YouTube. We have an audio only, and then we have one with video on YouTube. So you'll be able to see what we're talking about. I had such a great time at the Gathering of the Gatherers. It was so great to be able to just see some of the people that are listening to the podcast, to those that are so interested in gathering, have had experiences or desire to have revelatory experiences, thinning of the veil experiences. The spirit was so strong and it was so great. So thank you, Adele. Thanks, Tia, for all of your hard work. It was absolutely fantastic. I just want to share a couple of things that have happened this week. So many times we are hoping that maybe we will get some revelation or inspiration, and sometimes it's big, and sometimes it just comes so simply. And I had a project that I was working on in Sweden, and I needed to, I just felt like I needed to look at this family and see if there's anything missing. Well, when I looked at the family, I noticed that the mother was born in 1792 and the first child was born in 1797. And then there were 5 children born until 1807. Then there was about a 4-year gap. And then the rest of the children went almost up to 1830. And I just thought, something's not quite right here. I am wondering if he was married before, because he was about 20 years older than her. And this was the 3rd great grandmother for the person that I was working on this project for. So I thought, well, I will go look at the Swedish household books and see if I can find this family. So I looked and I saw on one of the kids actually had the name of the farm, and we always talk about it's important to know the address or the place where the person was living beyond just the little town or the parish. And so I had that, and I'm trying to think if I can see if I still have it open, of where they were. I can't remember the exact one, but it started with an H, this little place, Hideby or something like that. And I went to the front, and usually there's an index, and this one was in southern Sweden in Malmöhus, and there was no index. So there was no index of the place names. And there were over 400 pages in this book. And so I just looked at it. I randomly scrolled down. I clicked about 300 and something pages in, and there was the name of the farm. And and when I saw that, I just thought, there's got to be something that I need to find, because that doesn't happen very often, where you just randomly click and you're right there in a book of over 400 pages. And I was able to click back several pages, and I found the husband. His name was, I think it was Anders Persson. And it says this isn't savings. Hopefully it's saving. So this Anders Persson, he was there with a different wife. There was a different woman. And so I was able to do, her name was Anna, Lars' daughter, and I was able to do some more searching, and I ended up finding out that she died in 1808. The last child was born in 1807. She died in 1808. And then he remarried in 1809, and their first child was born in 1811. And she wasn't in Family Search. It was so incredible. And I was so grateful, because it came last night as I'm riding the train back home after a very wonderful but busy, exhausting week at Roots Tech. And I just want to testify that God uses, he has the ability to get us where he needs us to be. And sometimes it's these little ahas, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just clicked on that. It saved me so much time, because I had such a limited window before I was going to get off the train. So I want to share, and I'm going to take you on a little journey. I'm going to show you one new thing on Family Search. I have another really cool one we're going to talk about next week. Really new thing on Family Search. And then I'm going to take you along for a ride of something that I learned this week at Roots Tech. So let me share my screen. Allow to share screen. All right, here we go. So let's go to Family Search. Oops, wrong one. Here we go. Okay, so a lot of you have heard some of my stories that I've shared with Tia on the Thinning of the Veil of some of our travels. Well, I think I shared with you, and if you're just new and you're just popping on, we were watching a movie about somebody in New Zealand about 6 weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago. No, it's probably about 6 weeks ago. And I just had this stirring in my heart, and I just had this feeling you should go to New Zealand. And it's really not on my agenda to fly that far. And I started pondering it over the next day and was thinking about I have ancestors that emigrated to New Zealand. So we are going to New Zealand in April using some of my vacation time. And we are going to look for this family here. So this is Joseph Milliken Cargo. I'm going to show you my relationship. So he is my second cousin, 4 times removed. If you see right here, this is my grandpa, James McDonald and Sarah Ferguson. They were pioneers. They came from Ireland and joined the church and then settled. These guys settled in Springville. James died crossing the plains. So Sarah had a sister, Margaret. And back in 2007, I was just looking at the tree and I found somebody else that had some information. He sent me descendants of about 70 people that went to New Zealand. And so we did a bunch of temple work, and then I forgot about them. I started working on my Swedish, and that was my main focus. So as we're thinking about this trip to go to New Zealand, I really was kind of almost not going to do it. And every time I thought about it, I was almost brought to tears. I just felt, you've got to go. And every time we go on a trip, I get these little doubts like, oh, maybe we shouldn't go. Maybe we, anyway. And it still came this time. So we booked our tickets. And as I was looking at the schedule, I only had a little bit of time to go to a couple of classes because of my responsibilities for work and teaching. And I had noticed that there was a class on Australia and New Zealand records. So I had thought, I think I'm going to go to that. Well, I forgot about it. And the next day I'm wandering through the Salt Palace and I'm looking for another class. And then I just have this thought to look over at this sign, and I go look at the sign and see the title, and it's the class on Australia and New Zealand. I thought, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. So I decided I need to go in there. And so it was a life-changing class, and I hope that it will be a life-changing class for you. If you've got any ancestry in New Zealand, or even if you don't, I hope this will inspire you to know that there are records and newspapers, particularly. I'm going to talk about that, but we're also going to go into Ancestry, and I'm going to take you along for this ride because I haven't even finished this ride. So you're going to see a little bit of how I think through the discoveries. So what I did was this Joseph Milliken Cargo. I was just looking actually at all of these kids of David Cargo. I started with him actually, and I found some newspaper articles in this website called Papers Past. This is for New Zealand and it's free. And this is one of the records. This is one of the little newspaper articles that I came across. And it appears that he had furniture stowed in the stables of this John Campbell, and which Tia, if you're listening to this, it's a Campbell. They probably came from Scotland or Ireland. There were a lot of people that came to New Zealand from there. So he lost everything. One thing that was so cool that I noticed, and we've talked about this before about copyright, over here on the right side, it says no known copyright. To the best of the National Library of New Zealand's knowledge, under New Zealand law, there is no copyright in this item in New Zealand. You can copy this item, share it, and post it on a blog or website. It can be modified, remixed, and built upon. It can be used commercially. If reproducing this item, it is helpful to include the source. I was so excited because there were so many articles There was one, I think, about him or his uncle or somebody in the family where I think that they had dementia. There were some things where he got in a rift with his son, but it just appears that maybe he was having some mental health issues. So what I would do with this is, so this is for James Cargo, and I already did it, but I'm going to show you. So on a Mac, you click Command Shift 4, and you'll get these little crosshairs. And I can just go up to the top of this little article on the left, and I drag it, and I don't want to include that little article image, and I let go. So now I've got the image. It's saved it right down here. It's going to be under my recents on my computer. If you're on a PC, you can use the little snipping tool. All of the Windows PCs have what's called the snipping tool. And if you look down, I believe it's in the little search bar, down I think in the bottom left corner, you type SNIP and it should come up snipping tool, and it's some little scissors, and you can snip something from your screen and save it, and then you can attach it. So once I've snipped that, then I'm going to just come over with my mouse and I click and I drag over this entire little citation over on the side. I highlight it all so it's all blue, and then I right click, or with my two fingers on my trackpad on my laptop, I click copy. Or you can do Control C or for copy on a PC, or Command C for copy. So then what I do is I go back into Family Search. Let's go over to him. And so that was actually for James Cargo, and that's a brother right here. So James, I would go into, actually, I guess I didn't even save it for him yet. So I go into his memories, and over on the left side, I can see there's no memories. I click Add Memories and Upload. And then I'm going to click Select Files. So you just kind of need to know where it's saving it on your computer. You may have to, sometimes it's under Downloads. For my snips, or it might be on your desktop. On my snips, it's under Recent. And so I click that, and you can see here it is. So I click on the little image and then say Upload. And it gives me the title of the image, and I'm just going to say James Cargo furniture destroyed by fire. By fire. So in my description, I can write more information if I want. This is very simple, so I don't need to, but I'm going to do Command V on my Mac or Control V, and I pasted that source. That way, everybody knows that this is not copyright protected. I can put the place, and he was in Auckland, just outside of Auckland, but we'll put Auckland for now. And then the date should be right here, 4th of February, 1884. It's in the citation, 4 February, 1884. Now remember, if this is something from Ancestry or MyHeritage, newspapers.com, those are copyright protected unless they explicitly say they're not. But from everything that I understand, everything that's on that website is copyrighted. So don't do this type of thing for copyright protected. But if you are on a site and it says something like this, I was just so surprised. I know the National Library of Norway allows it, and now I know Papers Past, at least some of the newspapers allow it. So now it's processing. You see this little orange circle, and that doesn't mean you can't look at it. You can still click on it. It's okay to look at it, and you can tag it. So where on the image, I can improve the tag, or I can say not now. So I'm going to say improve tag, and I'm going to drag this so it's over James. This isn't so necessary on this one because it's already highlighted, but just for the sake of showing you, I'm doing that. So we'll click Save. And so now James is tagged. It's really helpful if it's a big article, or if it's a letter or a picture, so you want to show. And then over here on the right, if I wanted to edit the details, I could come here and I could click on Edit, and then I could change anything that was in here. But I'm happy with what it is, so I'm just going to click Cancel. Okay, so that's the first part. This was a fun find on Papers Past. So I was looking at the rest of the family. Let me go back here to James Bergen, because he's actually not our key guy. We're going to go to Joseph, because his name popped up in one of the newspaper articles, and so I thought, well, let me go look up for him. So you can see on his person page that he was born in Ireland, and then he ended up dying in New Zealand. So I scrolled down, and there was his wife, Florence Annie Hoskins. So I thought, I'm going to search Papers Past for anything about him, anything about her. And I'll show you what I found. So here was a death notice. The death of Mrs. Florence Annie Cargo at her home, 5 Minto Road. So when we go to New Zealand, of course, I want to find that. On Friday, removed a well-known residence of Remuera, I guess is how you would say it, born at Bristol, England. That was really awesome because I went back to Family Search and I noticed that all I had was New Zealand. When I first started doing it, I didn't know. And I made a guess, and I shouldn't have made a guess, but I made a guess and put that in there. So born at Bristol, England in 1864. In Family Search, it was 1859. And I'll tell you why in just a minute, why it said that. Mrs. Cargo arrived in New Zealand about 40 years ago. Do you see how amazing these newspaper articles can be? And some years afterward married the late Mr. Joseph Cargo. So now all of a sudden I know Joseph died before this date, which I can't remember what that was, but they lived for many years at Tamaki East and afterward at Green Lane and Remuera. In each of these 3 districts, Mrs. Cargo was noted for her active interest in charitable and religious works. As a member of the Somerville Presbyterian Church, she showed zeal in Sunday school, missionary, and orphanage activities. I just love when I read that, and it endears me to them. I'm like, this is somebody I would like to know, just a great person. And then look at this, a brother, Mr. F. Hoskins, lives in Queensland, and there are 4 sisters, Mrs. A. Fulljames of Remuera, Mrs. E. Adams of Whanganui, I do not know how to say these New Zealand names, Mrs. J. Dykes, and Mrs. T. Cloud, both of Russell. I was like, this is amazing. So I went back into her and I realized I don't have any of these siblings. So this is fantastic. But when I was looking at this, I was like, okay, Mr. F. Hoskins, okay, his name, Frank, Frederick, I don't know, well, that could be him. But the sisters, when I went into my tree, I was like, is that her? Is it Mrs. A, like Adeline? Or is it? And so I didn't know. So I just put it as that. And then I'm going to walk you through the rest of it because I have not finished it. So let's take you to the tree. So here's Florence Annie Hoskins. So you can see I've changed it to 1864 in Bristol, England. And she died 25 March 1927. So if I click on my relationship, you can see she's the wife of my second cousin 4 times removed right here. So you might say, well, according to the church policy, you can't do the work for her family, so why don't you just forget about her? I've heard people say that. They're not my family. Well, I want to testify to you that they're all our family. The current policy doesn't allow us to actually do the work for the family except for the sealing of Florence to her parents. But I have had multiple times where I have felt prompted to continue to work on that family, and I have connected into my direct line. It may go 12 generations back, but there's a connection. Sometimes I don't, but guess what I'm doing? It's no different than doing indexing for somebody that you don't know. You're providing an opportunity. You're the closest that they have been to having their temple work done, probably is since the time that they died. And you may be the closest person to getting their information into Family Search until the millennium. So don't take it lightly when you find this extended family, and don't just toss them aside as, oh, they're not mine. They are ours. They're all our Savior's and our Heavenly Father's family. So I encourage you to at least add the immediate family, add what you find in the records, and if you feel prompted to continue to add, please do that. You're acting as a little Savior, little s, Savior on Mount Zion. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to go to Florence, click on her person, and here she is. So you can see she has 2 sources, and one of them is Find a Grave, and one of them is a New Zealand Civil Records Indexes. We always want to look at the sources that we have first, and one was added in 2020 and one in 2023. Then let's look at the memories. So this was the one that I just added. I added that 2 days ago. And then I also added this one. This was, I think I found for him first. So this is the death notice for her husband, Joseph. So see, they're living at this 225 Remuera Road. And born with Christian patience, Joseph Milken, dearly beloved husband of Florence Annie Cargo, aged 67 years, interred this day at the Purawa Cemetery. And I was so excited because I thought we're going to that cemetery. I'm hoping that we will end up finding family that we may not have otherwise found in records as we go. But so I've added those two. That's what I've added. So let's go back to her family. So I come down here and you can see right now I just have Hoskins. And the reason I just have Hoskins in there is because once I saw this newspaper article, I didn't know the name of her father. I had the names of siblings. So in order to add the siblings, I had to put Hoskins in as a placeholder until I could figure out what the rest of it was. So I put that in for the father. Then it allows me to add the siblings. So let me show you this. So she has a sister, Edith, and I think this is one that I fixed. And she came from this record. If we go back here, I'm not sure which one. I'll show you in a minute. So, and then I have, do you see I have A. Hoskins, full James. This is not how I'm going to leave it, but I had to get them in. I felt this urgency before I went to bed on Thursday night. E. Hoskins Adams. So Adams, I didn't know if this was the first name of the girl or if it's the spouse's. Then I did figure out that the F. Hoskins, the one that lived in Queensland, was Frederick, and I'll show you how. And then this Mrs. J. Hoskins Dykes, I did get a little clue, and that's why I put the Mrs. So let me take you to Ancestry. So once I got these in here, I thought she was born in Bristol, England. In England, they did a census, 1841, 51, 61, 71. They did it every 10 years. So she should be in the 71 census. And she would have been, 6 years old. So when I typed it in, let's see, I've got to go back. You're going to see a fun one in just a minute. This is a New Zealand Police Gazette that I ended up finding. Okay, so when I put in, let me go back. I've got to, let's see this year, see my work in progress. So here's Florence, but this is the wrong census. I wanted to show you the 71. Here we go. So this one says Harriet Haskins, and let me make sure this is my right family. Yes, so you can see that they have it as Haskins, but if we go and look at the original, and this is where sometimes you need to compare two censuses, one with the other, to make sure the people match, the places match. So we're here in Bristol. This was the only family that popped up for a Florence in Bristol, born in 64. And let's look for them. Hoskins. And look at this. When you go and look at it, it is definitely Hoskins. It's not Haskins. So you've got a Thomas Hoskins head, and he's married and he's 43. Then you've got a wife, Frances, and she's 45. Ellen, who's a daughter, unmarried. Eva, Fred, Willie, Harriet, Minnie, and Louisa. And our girl who was our girl? So we have a Florence Annie born in 64. So this one is in the 71. So she should be in here. They have a Louisa, and ours is Florence Annie. So then you go, okay, let's compare it with another census. Let's go to the 81. They've got actually a 7-year-old saying Harriet. So let's go back. So we're going to go back so we can get the list when we were looking for Florence. She's 16 here. So sometimes there are errors in the censuses, in any of the records. There can be an error because we are all human. Somebody may have been giving the information that was the neighbor. It could have been a child. The census taker could have been partially deaf and not heard correctly. So I can see there's some other things. There's a Florence Hoskins here on the right in a newspaper. There's a Florence Annie Cargo and a New Zealand electoral rolls. There's a New Zealand historical death index, New Zealand cemetery records. There's another death index. And then here's the England civil registration for a Florence Annie Hoskins. So I'm just going to click on that for a minute before we go to that census. I can see she was born in 1864. So remember, this is just the index. If I wanted to get the actual civil registration record, I could order that through free BMD. You can also go to Find My Past, and sometimes there's images. But April, May, June. So she's born in the second quarter of the year in Bristol. So then here's the 1881 census. Let's go take a look at that. So when I look at that, there's a Thomas Hoskins and a Frances Hoskins. They're in Bristol, and the civil parish, it says, is Bristol, St. James, and St. Paul. So those match with what we saw before. I did not pay attention to the address. Sometimes they're living in the same place, sometimes they're not. So this is 77 Kingstown. And the other thing that you can pay attention to, she's a daughter, and it says she's a school teacher at 16. So that's kind of impressive. I'm going to click on the dad. Usually they stayed the same occupation. And let's see if it has an occupation for him. So he's a boot manufacturer. So, and look where he's living, 77 Kingstown, same place she's living. Let's go to the 71 census, the one that said Thomas Haskins. And if we scroll down, let's see if it tells us what his job was. It's not indexed, so let's see if it's in the 71 census. I haven't been in the England censuses for a bit, but there are some jobs. And here we are. Where'd he go? Thomas Hoskins, head. Let's see what his job is. He's a master employing 3 men and 2 boys as a boot manufacturer. Isn't that awesome? So we get his job, which helps us know that these 2 are the same families. So now we can compare those 2 censuses and make sure that the names match up with that and other records. So it's really important that you find multiple records if possible, especially if you have conflicting information. And then we can see some of the other jobs that others are doing and where they're born. So those will all be important to put into the tree. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to, so I know that this is their family. I'm going to go to the 1881 census because I know that that one says her name as Frances, or Florence. Sorry, the mom's Frances. Okay, so this is really cool. So we have the problem of the death notice just giving us an initial. And I was like, how am I going to figure this out? And then all of a sudden, like, oh, wow, I have a great tool here with Ancestry. So I'm going to click first on Frederick Hoskins. So remember I had Fred in there. If I click on him over here on the right, then it gives me some information about him. And there's a newspaper. Okay, so now I'm going to go to one of the girls because those are my ones that I really want to figure out. So I'm going to go, so there's less daughters that are living here right now. Some may have already left. Let's go to Louisa. So Louisa is 15 years old. And if I go back to the tree, there's not an L. There's an A, an E. And that was one of my clues. Like, I think this is the husband. The A is probably a male name. E is probably a male name, and J. So I'm thinking Louisa is one of these women that would be married to a full James, an Adams, or a Dykes. So remember that. So now we're going to go back here to this one, and let's just click on Louisa. When I click on her, watch what happens on the right-hand side. We get a whole bunch of record hints. So there she is, Louisa Haskin. And look at this. In New Zealand, it says Louis Dykes, which maybe she went by Louisa Dykes. And then there's a marriage index, Sarah Louise Maria Hoskins. If I click on that, this is all new for me too. I'm doing it live. James Dykes, married 1890 in New Zealand. All of a sudden, so it should say Mr. J. Dykes in that newspaper article. Let's go look. Where's our Dykes? Mrs. J. Dykes. Is this not incredible? You are like discovering right with me right now. This is like live and happening. So now I know, if I go back to Ancestry, I know that she married James Dykes. I know her full name, Sarah Louise Maria Hoskins. So I can now add that. I have New Zealand cemetery records. There's a find a grave for her. Let's click on that just for the fun of it and see what we can see. So we can see, oh wow, look at this. So if I click on the find a grave and I look at this, so we've got James, beloved husband of Louis Dykes. So that verifies she went by Louis, age 71 years. And then we've got also the above, Louis Dykes, and 83 years. And we've got exact birth dates. And remember, cemetery or headstones can be wrong. So find an original source that would prove that. And if we scroll down, we'll see if there was any other family. We don't see any other family, but thank you, Gail Lyons, for taking this picture. So then I'm going to go back and I can scroll down. And so there's the New Zealand marriage index. There's this historical deaths. There is an England newspaper that might have some information. We've got a UK railway employment records. Don't know if she worked for them or not, but we could look. There's also a New Zealand notices of deceased estates and New Zealand electoral rolls. So beyond that, I can come back here to papers past, and I'm going to duplicate this page. So if you wonder how to duplicate a page and not lose what you're doing, you're going to right click, or with 2 fingers if you've got a Mac, or using a trackpad, and right click and it'll say duplicate tab. That way you don't lose the page you're on, and it will open up a new one to add to my bazillion tabs that are on here. So when I come in here to papers past, I'm going to do a new search. So here's the search on the left page. And let me see, close. So just remember, I'm new at this papers past. Let me just do papers past. Just, let's see. We'll go to the main page of papers past. Okay. And we're going to search the newspapers. There we go. Okay, so we can search for a keyword here, and forgot what I was going to search. This is so exciting. So I could come, I guess I just wanted to demonstrate to you that you can come in here and then you're going to put a keyword. So I'm just going to do James Dykes, and he may have an E, he may not. And then I can do the dates, between what dates. So I'm going to search from, I don't know that I want to go to 2001, so I'm just going to change it to, I'll do 1839. I'm not sure when he was born, and we'll go to 1930. We'll say December 31st, 1930. Okay. And then we click search, and we'll just see what comes up. And then you get, I got 8,000 results. So then I'm going to definitely want to narrow it down to the place. So over here on the left is where you're going to narrow down the information. So you'll get to something like this. So if I go backwards on this, I'll show you what it looked like for her. I did Florence Annie Cargo, and because Cargo is a kind of an uncommon name and Florence Annie with it, I ended up getting 2 results. I got the death notice of her husband, and then I got her death. So you can see I didn't even put any date ranges here on the left because it just popped up. So let's go back to this family. So now we've got Mrs. J. Hoskins Dyke. So I can go to her person. I know that all I have is Bristol, England. So if I go back here, let's see if we can find her exact date. The cemetery records are right here. Does she have here's her civil registration. That'll give us her exact birth date. It's going to give us the first quarter. So it was 1866. So when I go to the cemetery records, and it was in Bristol, it does say 1866 as well. It doesn't give us the exact date there, but the death date was 6th of March, 1949. So I'm going to go back to, see if I can get back to her. 6 March, 1949. And then I always double check to make sure that I remembered right. Yep, 6 March, 1949. Did I put it in the right spot? Let me get back here. Yep, 6 March, 1949. And the reason this information is correct, you can come over here to this record on Ancestry, and you can click on this. In this box, it says source. Click on the source, and it says source citation. I like to highlight the source citation through the end of the source information. And then I right-click, copy, or double-click with my 2 fingers. I go back here to Family Search, and I paste that in there. That way, if I'm really busy and I can't create the full source, then I at least have it in one spot, save. But once I've done that, then I can go to sources. See, she has no sources, and we always want to make sure there's at least one before we do temple work, but I prefer more. I can go to sources, and I will click on add source, and I'm going to choose the first one. I don't have a memory that I'm attaching to this. I will just click add new source, and I'm going to say this is, what was her name? Louis Dykes. Or Louisa Dykes. So I will say Louisa Hoskins Dykes, death. Let's see, what was the official name of it? Oh, it was a New Zealand cemetery records. Okay, let me show you what I do. This saves you some typing. So it's cemetery record, and I would probably want to put New Zealand. You want to be as detailed as possible, even though sometimes we're anxious to get this down. Citation, I'm going to come and do Command V or Control V and paste that in there, or you can right click and paste. And then, let's see, sorry, somebody's trying to call me. Then I'll go back and choose the web link. And if they have an Ancestry account and they're logged in, they can get back into this. Otherwise, it won't really do them a lot of good, but it'll help them to be able to know that's where you got it. So we paste that in there. We've pasted the citation. We pasted the web page. And then I can go back and I can actually just highlight this New Zealand cemetery records. Let me go on the left or the right. Highlight that and Command C, Control C, and I can come back in here and I will just put the actual title there, and I will say in, oops, let's get a space there, in New Zealand cemetery records, and they know that it's this range. And then the actual date for it, I will go back here and let's see, so this was 6th of March 1949. I'm not sure when this actually was done, so I don't have a date for that. So I'm just going to put the 6th of March 1949 because that pertains to her date. And then if I scroll down, I can have notes. So actually I'd want to look at this and see if it gives me any more information, like possibly where she was buried. So this is saying Takapuna headstones, and tell me if you see it. I won't be able to hear you, but let's see if we can see where she's at. We're looking for Dykes, right? There she is. So there's James. So she's number 600. It says James, husband of Louis Dykes. So this is exactly what was on her headstone. So that's her information. So what I'm going to put for the notes, I'm going to just say Takapuna headstones and line 600. James and Louis are listed with their headstone. Well, I got a blank there with their headstone information. There we go. And then you can put a reason to attach source. So it says proves their marriage and places of burial. We don't know if this is the places of death. They didn't necessarily die in New Zealand. They could have died at sea or somewhere else. And then you want to go to the very bottom to vital tags. You'll click name, sex. We got the birth, death, and burial because we got all of that information for there, and then we can save. So once I've added that to her, I can now add it to her husband. Well, let's go see. Do we have her husband in here? We don't. So before we add it to him, I do want to fix something here. We know she was born in 1866. We know her name was Louisa. And actually, we know that it was Sarah Louisa. Let's go back. So see, she's Sarah LM on the civil registration birth index. There wasn't enough information or room. And they're here on the marriage. Sarah Louise Maria Hoskins. So I'm going to click on that because remember how we went to the source? I'm going to go here to the source, copy this source, Command C or Control C if you're on a PC, and then I'm going to put her whole name. So Sarah Louise is let's just make sure. So this one says Sarah Louise, but she's Louisa in all of these other records, and she's Louisa here on this one. So I think that this is one index. And then we've got this another one, and this is Louisa. So I'm going to go with Louisa based on the fact that there's more that have Louisa Maria, and she's Hoskins. I'm getting rid of Dykes because that's not her maiden name. I'm getting rid of the Mrs. I don't need that. And the reason this is correct, I'm going to paste that in there and save. So now that I have that as a source, oops, what happens? Sometimes the year does not get saved. So we're going to go into 1866. Go into the date of birth. I clicked on the pencil, put in 1866, and then I'm going to save. And if I find out her exact date, which I probably actually can with her headstone, let's go to the headstone. And let's see what it says. Oh, it just says she's 83 years old. So I'll need to do a little bit more digging to see if I can find her exact birth date. If not, I've got the 1866, and now you see she has one source for that. And let's see where we got that from. So that was from the cemetery records that tagged that too. If you forget to tag it, you can click on the little pencil next to whatever the vital event is. Over here on the right, you can click tag sources up in the top right corner. And then you can select, there would be other sources, and I would click on it and tag it. And I would then select the source and attach it. So we're going to put in, I'm going to put this in here, that same New Zealand. I think that one had the information on that. Her birth, let me just make sure. We'll see if it says her age. If it doesn't, nope, it does. It just says marriage date. So I need to go back to, we'll just copy this source from Find a Grave. So I highlight that, Command C or Control C if you're on a PC. And I'm going to put that in there. So that says that's where I got that from. I also could put the 1871 census. So actually I'm going to come back in here for the reason, and I'm going to enter, and then I'm going to put 1871 UK census, and you could say England census, and that's what I'm going to leave that there. So now I know her name is Sarah Louisa Marie Hoskins. So currently it's yellow because she's not directly related to me. Once I add enough information for her work to be done, it's going to give me the little square box with just the little dashes around it. So I click on ordinances, it says not available. I must be related to request these ordinances. But remember, we're doing a great service right here for Sarah Louisa. And if I connected into her husband's line and he was related to me, then all of a sudden I have the ability to do her work. So don't stop when you, all of a sudden it says you're not related. If you have the ability, go ahead and add that. So then we're going to go in and we're going to add her husband, James. Now, right now it's showing that she needs her work done. There's a possibility that once we add James, that he may be in the system. She may be in there under Louis. And it says my computer's getting low and I do not want it to die. So will you hold on for just a second while I find my charger? Thank you for holding tight while I grabbed that. I didn't have any time to charge it while I was at Roots Tech yesterday. So we're going to put James Dykes, and let's see if we can get some information about him. So if we come in here back to Ancestry and we go to the marriage index, let's click on that. And we can click on his name in blue. And over on the right, we should get some hints. So there's an 1871 England census. It looks like he may have been born in England as well. There is the New Zealand cemetery records. There's a New Zealand World War I service record. Let's look at that. That sounds interesting, and it may have his exact birth date. So it has his place of birth, London, England, and spouse, Louise Dykes. So this looks like it may be for their son, James Gordon Dykes. And so this birthplace actually may not be James. It might be the son. I'm not sure. Let's take a look. This is a fun, I've never seen these ones before. So this is Expeditionary Force, General Service. So this is for the son. All of a sudden now I have a son. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. James Gordon Dykes. So he was born the 21st of February, 1891. Father is James Dykes. Mother is Louis Dykes. And his father was born in London, England, and mother in Bristol. Do you see how these little puzzle pieces are coming together? This is so fun. So it says, how long have you been a resident in New Zealand? Since birth. And then the father since about 1887. So we're getting an immigration date potential. and mother since about 1885. He may not be sure, but he's giving you some estimates. And let's see, it says he's a bank clerk. He's not an indentured apprentice. He's been living in Auckland, and Park Road is where he was living. Is this not incredible? So we get a lot of information from this one record. So I just had an idea that you can do, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to snip this and I'm going to put it into Gemini, and I'm going to have it extract all of the information, and then I'll show you where I'm going to put it. Do you want me to show you that? I think I'm going to show you that. We're going to be a little bit longer today, but I think this is going to show you how powerful AI can work with Ancestry, excuse me, and then Family Search. So I've got this document, and I can either snip it or I can do a download and just save it. So I'm just going to click save and save to your computer so that you'll know that you can do this too. So save to your computer, and then I'll have it extract the important information because I don't want to break copyright by putting an image on Family Search that may be copyrighted, and likely is because it's on Ancestry. So then I'm going to go to my Safari, and I don't think Gemini is open, so I'm opening another window, Gemini, and let's see, Gemini, let's open you up. All right, so notice I'm in the Pro version. I'm on the free, or the $1.99 for 3 months trial, but I love it so much that I'm going to subscribe. It's about $20 a month, but I absolutely love it. I am testing some other ones. I'm trying to find the best for transcribing records, and I'm going to upload the file. So I'm going to, oh, there it was. It was under my downloads, not under my recents. So when I snipped it, it goes to my recents file. Personally, it may go to your desktop. But when I downloaded it, when I said save to computer, it went to my downloads. So here's the image. I'm going to click upload. And then I'm going to say, please extract all important genealogical data from this New Zealand, and it will be able to tell that, but I'm just going to tell it anyway, just in case, military record. And my son is coming in through the window, so I'm going to pull these curtains shut. So we're going to let it think for how many seconds is this going to be? Maybe like 10 seconds. Okay, that's a little bit better. And let's scroll down and see what it did. So here it says it's for James Gordon Dykes. And look at this information that it gives me. Is that not amazing? Look at that. So then I can compare it with the actual record. So I'm going to scroll through, and then there's some information that it's telling me since the parents arrived in this time period, you can narrow down their marriage record, which we saw that they were married in 90. And it talks about that he may have had higher education. So it's giving you some little hints based on this one record. And then it said, would you like me to search the New Zealand Online Cenotaph? I've never even heard of that. Or the Archives New Zealand database to see if his full personnel file is available. I could have them do that. What I'm actually going to do is this little paper right here. It's the fourth one in. It's like, it says copy response. I'm going to copy that. So now I'm going to go back. So I've got that copied, and I may actually end up losing it, but I guess we need to finish what we're doing first because we just found a son. And I'm going to just put James Dykes in here for the sake of time, and I'm going to say deceased. And he was born in London, England. We do know that. London, England. And maybe by putting this in, James Gordon will pop up. And you can see you get lots of different choices. Make sure that you're choosing the one that has the time period. So I'm choosing 1801 to present. And he died in Auckland. This is the dad, Auckland, New Zealand. And we can probably get some more information on that. But I'm just going to say next for right now, and we'll see. He wasn't in there, at least with what we have right now. So that's really exciting. So now I've got the spouse. So I want to add James Gordon because now I have that information for him. So his name is James Gordon Dykes. And he's a male and deceased. Let's go back. Oops, the wrong one. And let's see, where's his birth date? So he was born 21 February 1891. And does it say the place of place born? He was born in Auckland. So we'll come back here and we'll put in, oh, I just forgot it. 21 February 1891. February 1891. I am so excited. This is just like a huge breakthrough. I'm so grateful that I listened to that little prompting randomly. Several. The one during the movie that we need to go there, but then to go to this class and then to get reminded by the Spirit. Auckland. And so often it's not even a traveling. It's just listening to that little thought to go do this. Look here. I don't know where he died, so I'm going to say next. And there's a James Gordon Dykes, and this says 21 January 1891, died in New Zealand, and there's Adelaide. What do you do? Usually I would just go look for more information about James, which I will do that because this January and February could be off. Somebody could have it wrong. Let's just go, we're just going to do it. So here's James Gordon Dykes. So if I go back, I went back, and anytime you see a person's name in blue, if you click on it on the right, you're going to get a bunch of hints. Well, most of the time. So if I come over here, there's James Gordon Dykes, and there's a marriage index. Let's see who he married. And we'll see if it's the same girl. Adelaide Lucas Platt. So that is our guy. So let's look on the cemetery records and see if they got it right. It just says 1891, and this is where he died. And he's in Andersons Bay. So based on the marriage record, I am going to say that's the correct person. So you might say, well, wait a minute. You have 21 February. That's what he gave when he enlisted in the military. We can fix that. So I'm going to, instead of creating a person, I'm going to say add match. And now he's in there. And he was already in there. Let's click on him. And he's already, and it says green. But that doesn't mean that, oh, that may mean I can do it. Let's see. I mean, green does mean go. Green. So let's view my relationship. So actually, oh, holy cow. So I am related. This is what I'm talking about. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind. This is why I say you just keep adding those people, because this is, we went down a generation. James Dykes, the spouse of my cousins, Sarah Louisa Maria. Actually, she's not even my cousin. She's married her sister. How holy, wow. You were right in the middle of all these discoveries. So Sarah Louisa is the sister of Florence, who's married to my cousin, James Cargill. And Florence's sister, who technically I could not do the work for because she's not related to me. Her husband, James. Oh my gosh. So her husband, James, is my cousin because we were able to connect into that through James Gordon Dykes. So now all of a sudden I can do James Gordon Dykes because he's connected on my mom's side. The other one was on my dad's side. This happens over and over again. I just want you to know, and it can happen to you. So don't stop working on these families. I think I've said that 3 times. Holy moly. So let's click on Sarah Louise. And now remember, she was all those dashes, and now I can do her work. So what I have now is I have this family to continue adding information to. But if we go back and look at all these hints over here on the right that I can also, I think the rest of my Sunday is going to be full. So now I'm going to merge these two together, and I'm going to walk that through for you because there may be some people that are not familiar with what you do. What do you do when there's 2? So the first thing you do is you look at the information. Sarah Louisa Maria Hoskins, she has a 7-digit number ending in 6L3. And if you click on it, it'll copy that and save it on your clipboard. Then there's this one here, GZRC7 or ZY6. So they're 2 different ones. So I have a duplicate of Sarah and I have a duplicate of James. So I'm going to merge James first. So I click on the one that has the least information. So I'm going to click on his ID, HNW, and now that's been copied. So then I click on the name James Dykes. Just click on his name, don't click on his ID, otherwise it'll get rid of the other one. I'm going to go to his person. And sometimes when you merge these people, all of a sudden then you find out all the work was done, and because you merged it, you were able to prevent duplicate work. So I copied that ID just in case the computer did not figure out that there was a possible duplicate. But if I scroll down, I also have the opportunity here under Tools to merge by ID. So I can paste that in there, Command V. I could do it up at the top, but I want to demo this for you. And I say Continue. So I'm going to get rid of this message, and then this is the merge page. So this one is saying there's some inconsistencies in here. The birthplaces are 343 miles away. So mine says London, this one says Scotland, but they both have the death in Auckland. So what do you do there? We've got the same burial. So that's where you're going to go through and you're going to look at James. So before I merge this, I'm going to look at everything and make sure that I am sure. If I am not sure, which I'm not right now, everything else looks like it matches up. There's so much that matches through these ones, but I want to make sure that these ones match enough. So I need to do some more research. So these guys were in Scotland, and maybe somebody assumed he was born in Scotland, but he was born in London. Or maybe he really wasn't born in London at all, and his son was wrong. So do you see how when you get to this point, you need to say, I need to find more records. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm just going to say cancel. So I know I need to do a little bit more work on him before I do any more. So I'm going to come back to him because I want to show you one more thing. We're going to go to Sarah Louisa. Let's go back to all those siblings. And then next week I can let you know how this all turned out. So we see there's a Louis Dykes, Billion Graves, but I want to come back to, see, where did she go? Where did the rest of the family go? Let me go to recents. And I'm going to go to Florence Annie, and I need to turn off my little Roomba vacuum. It just turned on automatically by itself. Thanks for being patient with all the life interruptions here. So there's Florence Annie, and there's her siblings. So we've got Sarah Louisa. I'm going to do some more work on her. Let's look at one more of these. I just want to give you another example. So here's A. Hoskins Full James. So I'm going to go back here, and we're going to have to probably go back a little bit. So I don't want to lose this page. So remember we talked about if you right-click with your mouse or 2 fingers on your trackpad and duplicate tab, then you see another one popped up. So I've got this one. I can now go backwards. I'm going to go back to that census with the family. So let's see how long that will take us to get back to that. I want to find that 1881 census with Sarah Louisa. Oh, there it was. If I go back right here, 1881 census. All right, so now we have another, I'm gonna look for another, so there's Edith. Actually, let me go to the 71 because that had a few more kids in it. All right, so we've got Louisa, there's Minnie. Let's try Minnie. Let's see what happens with her. So there's Minnie, nothing happens with her, so maybe she ended up dying. She's only in the 81, and then she's gone. So not sure. I would want to look at that story. So let's look at Ava. All right, so there's Ava Hoskins. Oh, look, there's an Ava Adams. This is a find a grave. Let's see if there's a marriage. Any kind of marriage. There's a probate. Oh, here's a marriage index for UK. Let's look at that. And the father's Thomas Hoskins, a marriage about 1878. That's why she wasn't in the 1881 census, but no spouse is listed on this view. Let me look and see if it's going to let me see the actual image. It did. Sometimes it doesn't. So it just says Adams and Hoskins, August 8th at the Tabernacle, Penn Street, by the Reverend R. Adams, brother of the bridegroom. Reverend Thomas Adams, pastor of Lodge Street Chapel, to Ava. So Reverend Thomas Adams, if we go back to, where's that newspaper clipping? Here we are. This was the death notice for Florence. And here it is. And is there an Adams? There's a Mrs. E. Adams. So let's go back. How does that compare with what we were looking at? So this is Mrs. E. Adams, and it says Ava and Father Thomas. So that doesn't help us. So let's go back. And let's see. There's Ava Adams, and let's see who she's married to. And let's see if she's in Bristol. and she's in Somerset, but civil parish is Bristol, and she's the wife of Thomas Adams. So that E. Adams may have been for her. It may have been, so anyway, so here we've got her there. We've also got the find a grave. Let's click on that, because if I'm like, I would just want to make sure. And there she is, Thomas Adams, and then Sidney Joseph Adams is one of the children. So do you see how many families I have been able to find in just this short little bit? All right, I want to show you one more thing. So I've got some work to do on this family, but you can see how one newspaper article from Papers Past. So if you've got family from New Zealand, go check it out. I found out also Australia has a free newspaper website, and you can access that through the Family Search Research Wiki. And if you have family in any other area of the world, go see what kind of newspapers they have, because these newspapers, as you have seen live, can break open some amazing things. So I'm going to take you here to, let's go back to Family Search. I just want to show you one more thing. Speaking of newspapers, you now have the ability to search, and there is a newspapers tab here down at the bottom. So check it out, try it out. This just happened just recently. And when you click on it, it will take you here, and we can talk more about that next time. So let's stop sharing. Holy moly. Usually I try to have these be short, but this was so exciting, and I wanted to share this with you. And I hope that this will be something that you can now take into practice. My challenge to you is to go and find a newspaper article for one of your relatives and see if it will open up any more doors for you. So happy searching, and have a great first week of March. It's going to be nice and sunny, just like it is today. And my first daffodil bloomed today, and I'm so excited. So thanks for joining, and we will talk to you next time.